Well, well, well. I drank a tea in Reno just to watch it piss. Is that a joke? Does anyone, do you know? What do you think? Is that a joke? Not helpful. Okay. Geez, I don't know. I'm truly baffled by that one. Huh. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I will just email one of the world's foremost experts on jokes, and I will ask them. And they'll be helpful. Assam, graded FTGFOP, finest tippy golden flowery orange Pecco. I got this from Two Soul Tea Co. in Reno, Nevada, hence the, I'm hesitant to call it a joke, hence the sentence I said a couple sentences ago. Before I forget, we're gonna do some additions to the old tea bag, which, I'll give it a little smell, even though this has definitely got to get a lot more tea in it. Toasted cereal? Oh god, what am I, like the Bigelow Corporation here? Alright, we'll throw that chunk in there. A little more, a little tiny bit more. Perfect. Look at that, I'm on top of things today. And I'm not just talking about the dirt. What? The Two Soul Tea Co. in Reno, Nevada. It's a perfectly acceptable place to get a cup of tea. It isn't exactly my cup of tea as far as the sort of tea preparation style. It's mostly Western style. They don't use Gaiwans or Gongfu brewing, short, small pot, what have you. And it's a lot more like Indian, Sri Lankan kind of teas than the Chinese stuff that I generally go in for. But, you know, the sort of tea people are kind of malnourished in this sense. There's really not a lot of good places to go in the US to get a cup of tea and drink it, or multiple small cups of tea and drink it. So perfectly acceptable and not exactly my style, what I prefer the most, ends up ranking very highly because we're lacking. We don't have a lot of options in that regard. Also, the Radical Cat Bookstore. I would recommend that as well. Go there. Read books. Read zines. Read words. Read stuff. Do it. Go. Do it now. All right, let's start by warming the old Gaiwan up here. It's not. Is there a good reason to warm it? Maybe. I feel like the smell, once you put the old dry leaves in there, really, it pops a lot more than it does if you're putting the leaves into a not warmed up Gaiwan. Although it's a little warm. And I like to have a warm cup, like, kind of ready. It helps everything hold temperature a lot easier. So that's I don't think it's the most necessary aspect, but I like doing it. Ooh, we got some bubble action. Look at that. Wow. Hello, planet Earth. It's me. I've got something amazing for you. Let me commence, and inaugurate this video by stating officially on the air, for the record, I hate these tea grading terms that they use for, like, Indian and Sri Lankan teas. I hate them. Somehow every single one makes it sound like it's the highest quality tea, and wow, I just got interrupted by the grow toy. Oof. That's embarrassing. I was on a roll there, huh? In addition to each of them seeming like they're the highest grade of tea, I mean, look at this. This reads like more like an encryption key than an indication of tea quality. This whole system does not appeal to me. I do not like it. And I will be complaining thoroughly about it in this here production, this program. FTGFOP doesn't exactly roll off the tongue very well. And I don't think finest tippy golden flowery orange Pecco does either, because you would not believe how long it took me, how many tries to memorize that and remember that that's what FTG FOP meant, right? Not that anything rolls off the tongue well for me. Even as a baby, I was mumbling when I should have been babbling, and that hasn't changed despite all the time I spend not attempting to ameliorate the deplorable condition of my enunciation. Let's do it. You can see here, this is a pretty good sign. We got a lot of that orange dust that is probably not showing up on camera, the old trichromes, for those of you who pay attention and who just know things. Let's dump you in here. I like the tin. The tin feels nice. Go a little bit more. We want, for one of these cups, filling the, I believe this is a 90 milliliter Gaiwan. I usually fill this about halfway. We want maybe slightly more than a teaspoon. Let's give it the old college sniff. Now, this is my own stupid fault, but the Gaiwan is definitely stopped being warm. I did not really leave much time for the water to sit in there and heat the whole thing up longer. Not that this holds heat like super strongly, but maybe I should have done that. Maybe I will next time. Maybe you should shut your mouth. Okay, smells slightly, faintly, minutely of chocolate. A little bit of a dark fruit, kind of raspberry-ish. There's a kind of malty, earthy quality to it as well. And that's what I smell. My original plan for this video was to go through the tea grading term for this tea, FTG, FOP, letter by letter, and explain what each one of them meant, and where the term origin and how it's applied to the thing as a whole. Wow, that's an enunciation. Call up a Pygmalion. I'm serving barbecue tonight. What? That plan fell through. I gave up on that plan. That didn't happen. I ended up with pages and pages of really complicated and contradictory information on all these tea grading terms, and I don't think it's particularly useful. And so I just kind of scrapped it. These tea grading terms they're a mess, to say the least. And it's not like there's some sort of like exterior tea grading institution out there applying all these and sort of very, very powerfully examining each little leaf and saying what it is. That is not happening. These terms are self-applied by the people that are selling you the teas. So that should be some indication of how useful they are. Let's do a little rinse here. That's some color right off the bat. Ooh, I gotta go fast. I don't want to brew it too long. And I don't want to leave my Stanley open for too long. Look at that dark color. Nice reddish, a coppery kind of thing. It's very pretty. Alright. What do you smell like? Ooh. Very fruity, big, powerful fruit notes. Again, it's lots of dark fruit. I'm thinking raspberries. Maybe a little bit of strawberries. Maybe a little bit of other berries. Wow. That's a good fruit smell. That's really nice. A little bit, vague hint. Chocolate malt. And earth. There's some earth in there. Earth and chocolate are often, because it's not chocolate. The smell is cocoa more than chocolate that I'm smelling. Right? Chocolate's there's dairy and there's sugar. There's a bunch of other stuff going on in chocolate compared to cocoa. And this is more of the cocoa smell, which is kind of intermingling with earth smells often. They're very close. What's your deal? What are you, a cheetah? These tea grading terms are confusing. They're confusing, I think, on purpose. It's a trick. And not like the kind Chris Angel and I engage in. These tea sellers, they just kind of kept adding adjectives to their product, right? They started out with Pecco, and all of a sudden, there's 5 other letters added to it, because if you're the one who's selling finest tippy golden flowery orange Pecco, it makes it sound like the people that are selling only tippy golden flowery orange Pecco, that there's a sort of chasm of difference in quality between what you've got and what they've got, even though that might not necessarily be the case. All right, let's do a little brew here. As you can probably already see, not so many leaves in here. There's a method. I'll get into it. Step 1, approximately 30 seconds. Again, no timer. I might get a nice one someday for this, but I haven't yet. Beautiful, beautiful color on that. These Indian teas are probably the best looking ones when they're brewed. The old liquor, the soup. It's lovely. Smells a little diminished on this. Let's see how you are. It smells great. I love the smell of this tea. Super fruity. And all those other things I already mentioned that you don't need to hear again. Unless you're stupid. So, when one tea company sees someone else selling what they're calling an FTG FOP, that's basically the same as their tea, and they're selling it for a much higher price, it just becomes a sort of race to adding the most possible adjectives you can to your tea. It just gets to be a confusing nightmare. Again, there is not an exterior body, with or without organs, out there that is very carefully saying like, ooh, this tea is an FOP, and this one is a GFOP, because of these clear and stringent standards that we've established, that we're sort of enforcing the tea grower, producer, sellers to follow and engage in, right? This is all self-applied. This is all the people selling this tea, who made this tea, who sold it to the old Two Soul Tea Co. in Reno, Nevada. They're the ones who said that this was an FTG FOP. A little suspicious behavior in the tea world. Let's sip. All right. It's definitely earthier. The fruity smells don't come through in my mouth parts. They don't translate as powerfully into fruity tastes. They're in there, but they're turned down a lot. It's earthier, it's maltier. It's pretty good. Brisk, I think, is a word they often use to describe this type of tea. I would call that brisk. It doesn't, it's a shorty though. It does not have a super long evolution. It doesn't hang out in my mouth a long time. Right? This is not exactly how this tea should be prepared. I do it anyway. I do whatever I want. Yeah, it's light. Pretty, a little on the mild side. It's hard to balance these teas, right? When you're brewing them in the Gaiwan, it's tough. Right? These tea grades, for these Indian and Sri Lankan teas, they were created and they are applied by the people making the teas, right? It's like if in high school I was the one writing the test that I would be taking and then grading my own work, which, honestly, I'd still probably fail after that, because I would be unsatisfied with my own answers to questions that I designed to be easy, because I'm sort of engaged in like an internal Hobbesian war of all against all, and everyone is losing. Let's brew this some more. We're gonna, first steep was about 30 seconds. We're gonna go for about a minute here. These, you're gonna notice. I mean, obviously there's fewer leaves in here. Gotta go a little bit longer on the old brew to compensate for that. I almost put that on in the wrong order. That would have been embarrassing, huh? Would have had to put me in a Fortnite fail video? I don't know what that is. I don't know. Let's wait for another 40 seconds or so and just kind of think about things. How you doing? Like, you doing okay? You're not. I mean, I'm not surprised, but... Oh, really? The whole thing? 12 doctors. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. What a world, you know? What a world. Wow, Robert Moses, huh? You and everybody else, I bet. What do you think of that? I hope you've been keeping track of time. I haven't. Not very well. Steep 2. See how you did? Alright. We're doing a good job, and when I say we, I really mean me. But when I say we, it doesn't sound quite so narcissistic, but I'm doing a very good job at not letting a bunch of gunk get in my cup. Are you impressed? You should be. Yeah, the lid smells are weak today. They're on the weak side. I'm not gonna lie. I could lie, but but this old Gaiwan cup here, very fruity, very strong smells, very, very nice. It's almost like, it kind of is like a winey sort of thing. Not like me, but like a bottle, wine. You get it at the store, you drink it. You know that. Don't be obtuse. Yeah, it's got like a dark red wine kind of smell to it. That's very nice. What kind of taste does it have? Vote now. Okay, we're getting a bit of a tannic introduction here. A little bit of bitterness. Just a hint. Very mild. It's hard to, again, there's a precarious balance here, because this can get better pretty easily. I will say it's unfortunate that the leaves aren't particularly, I don't know, aesthetically pleasing. They don't look that nice. Not in the same way that the liquor does. Nice color on that. Mostly earth, mostly malt. Not a cocoa-ish kind of earth though. It's more of an earthy kind of earth. I feel like a very ungenerous way to say it would be somewhere maybe south of the realm of feet. I guess earth is usually south of feet, huh? I don't know what that was. That was a couple sentences, I suppose. Yeah. Huh. That's a thinker. All of this leaves us with a baffling mess, to say the least. Like, for example, this FTG FOP. This is the highest grade of tea, except for SFTG FOP, because someone decided to add the word special to the Alphabet Mafia soup they were cooking up, and so SFTG FOP is actually the highest grade of tea. Except for SFTG FOP 1, because now we're adding numbers to this increasingly confounding cacophony of claptrap that we've established here, and nothing makes sense anymore. If this keeps up, eventually these terms, just the one of them will have the sort of length and inscrutability of a Thomas Pynchon novel without any of what I'm told are its charms. All right, brew number 3. This time aiming for about 90 seconds. These get long. This is only a brew 3 and we're up to 90 seconds. There are teas that I'm probably still flash steeping at this point, but you know, every tea is a little different. You have to treat them a little different. You can't just act all willy-nilly about this. I mean, I do, but you can't. Ow, ow, ow. Yeah. So, you know, cut to about 80 seconds in the future, so do that. Go ahead, do it. See if I care. You know, I altered my plan of explaining the tea grades because none of this matters. Not in a cosmic sense, although that's certainly true. That can be argued. None of it matters in a tea sense, right? These grades are just, they're not useful for finding yourself a quality tea. They're a little bit useful. They're really, if they're useful for anybody, they're useful as marketing terms for people that are doing marketing. Right. I might return to it someday, the whole explaining the tea grading, I don't know, nonsense, because I've already done a lot of research and writing about it, trying to explain it. And I don't want to just throw all that out. So, you know, I might come back to it. There's some mild use to it, and I don't know, maybe from like a historical perspective, there's some interest in there. I don't know. We'll see. Hey. Did someone say nostrils? Because I'm using them to smell. Yeah, we're still in the fruit zone. We got a little bit of liquid in there. Let's get that out. And again, lid is not... I wonder if it's a quantity of tea kind of thing, or if different types of tea transmit their smells differently. I don't know. I don't know why our friend the lid here doesn't get a ton of smells in it. When some teas, it is just, you know, it's a sort of bustling city of nostril sensations. And today it really isn't. Yeah. Okay, let's bustle my mouth. Ooh, okay. It's a little bit fruitier now. The earth is turned down a bit. The bitterness isn't coming through on that one, despite it being a pretty long brew. It's still got that, it's a short evolution. The flavor is not lingering in my mouth the way that I like when a tea does that. Unless it's bad, in which case that's a bad thing for it to linger, but that's a useless statement. You know, wow, I really like tea when it's good, and oh, you know what? I don't like tea when it's bad. That's insight, okay? Roll a 20 on that one if you're still playing that stupid Dungeons and Dragons game instead of moving on to a much more interesting tabletop role-playing experience. It's fruitier. It's okay. We're still in the mild zone. We're not really going to leave the mild zone, unfortunately. That's just a consequence of brewing in Assam in this manner. It doesn't entirely lend itself well to it. You can get okay results. I think this is fine. I would be content drinking this. I am content drinking this. But it's not a top tier small pot brewing experience. And in addition to all that information, I had at least one acceptable joke in that script that I'd be kind of bummed if I lost that one. So I gotta really make sure I can get a use for that somehow. That's important. Not just explaining all that contradictory drivel. It's making a dumb joke about something I don't remember. Wow, I'm doing a lot of voice today, huh? Step aside, Matt Mercer. You hack. That's untrue. All right. Did someone say brew this for about 2 minutes? Because they were right. for now, if you are in the market for a quality Indian or Sri Lankan tea, and you want to find a good one, and you're like, wow, this little weirdo on the internet's telling me not to go off of the tea grading terms. I don't know what to do now. I'm lost at sea, like Robert Redford in that movie. You don't remember it. I do. If you want to get a good quality Indian or Sri Lankan tea, what I would do is I would stick to a single estate. Get your teas from a single origin tea, basically. It's a one estate tea. That's usually a good way to get it. You might have to try a couple different estates to see what really appeals to you, which to me sounds like a good time. That sounds like fun. Trying things is often a lovely, miraculous experience, except for most of the times, because most things are terrible, and trying them makes my body and my brain and a third mysterious part of me react very negatively. Welcome to steep number 4. It's been about 2 minutes. The color is still... I mean, these Indian teas are... I feel like they're brewed often for color in addition to everything else. Look at that. That's still going. Like they're supposed to come up with a really solid, consistent color in the old soup. They don't come up with a smell here, but hey, you get what you get. Ooh, even this is starting to slow down a bit, which makes sense. Excuse me? Ma'am? I'm in the middle of something? Stop screaming? No. I'll kill your family. Yeah, the fruits just turned down, which, yeah, I'd say about 3 to 4 brews is what I get out of this. That's about standard, which is not a lot. It's pretty low. Compared to, like, there's some raw puers I've got, or some nice oolongs that they just keep going all day. And this does not. It's unfortunate. Let's sip. I often don't smell the actual liquid itself. It doesn't smell like much. The tastes are... Okay, there's a very late arriving back of the mouth fruit thing. Everything else is really turned down. We'll brew this one even longer. I mean, it's all very slightly in there. I'm gonna say it's not... There's subtle in a good way, and then there's lacking flavor. It might be edging closer to lacking flavor in a way that's just not super interesting. It's not subtle and delicate. Again, this is... For some reason I'm doing this. It just doesn't... It doesn't want to be brewed this way. But as I said, you should try new things, except for most things, because most things are awful. But when it comes to tea, you should try new things as long as it's tea, because tea is good. And everything else is kind of awful. Okay, that sips a little more. More of the earth. Malt. Again, though, I'm going to continue to repeat myself, I suppose, for the rest of my life. It doesn't last long. Flavors in and out super quick. Like a thing that you can make a joke out of. You do that one for me, though. I don't feel like it. So go on the internet. Get your tea, your Indian teas from a single estate. That's often the best way of ensuring a quality product. That, and in a sort of more general sense, I find that information is also a way of doing it. The more I know about a tea, where it was grown, when it was picked, how it was processed, what varietal it is, the better it is. I don't really have a joke to end that whole sort of rant about the not particularly usefulity of these tea grading terms. It's nice to have a button. I don't have one. Yeah, we're button free today. But I mean, I suppose we could just kind of skip ahead to the audience participation segment of this, and we can sort of do some imagining. We can pretend for a second that the letters FTG, FOP, each of them stands for a different swear word, like, you know, fuck, got fat, ostrich, and piss. And we can also pretend that this is 2008 YouTube, where really just shouting a variety of swear words counted as doing a comedy. So can you do that for me, please? Could you do the labor of that joke for me? Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Good. That was great. That was really good of you. Wow. You know, we're all really proud of your ability to sort of divorce yourself from reality and enter the far more interesting and superior world of Paracelsian imagination. Good job. Instead of making a sandwich with all that bologna, let's do a very quick overview of sort of my method for brewing, I would say, Indian teas in general, or the Assamika variety, because I have not done a Darjeeling in here yet, in a Gaiwan, and I would imagine that it's a little bit different. I've done a couple of Assams, Nilgiris, and there's a sort of method that kind of works. I'm not going to say it fully works, but it's what I found that works the best. Right, when you're brewing in a Gaiwan, you're using a different ratio of tea leaf to water than you would be if you were doing it Western style. It's more tea, less water. And so consequently, you're doing shorter steeps, and you're doing multiple ones. You're stretching the whole evolution of the flavor out. You're kind of picking the flavors apart as they go. For the Indian teas, what I do when brewing them this way is I kind of hit the middle point, as I already said, right? It's not so much tea, longer steeps, and you're not going to get as many brews out of it, unfortunately, compared to you know, a Chinese tea in the old Gaiwan here. It's more than a Western tea, or Western style brew. Obviously, if you did a teaspoon of that for 8 ounces of liquid, it's a little different. But that's basically what I do. And there, you do smaller amount of tea. I do a little over a teaspoon, which is not a helpful measurement. I got to get a scale so I could actually dispense useful information. I could say something that can be replicated a lot easier. And yeah, longer brews, longer steeps. And I did follow their, they have 200 degrees Fahrenheit written on there, and that is what this is at. That's what my testing has shown. Okay, this was a research effort on par with, say, I don't know, like the Manhattan Project or the Apollo program or the $50 million year-long redesign that Doritos did in the 90s, okay? It was of scale. It was huge and intensive and difficult, okay? This was a thing on par with the sort of early days of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, with a similar amount of explosions, death, and occult influences, okay? This was a lot of work to figure this out, and I really only achieved, I would say, sub-middling results. Oh well. That's life, huh? Until you're dead, and then that's death, huh? What do you think, being a ghost is gonna be cool? Probably boring as shit. Assam tea! What? Who? I always seem to forget to define what a thing is that I'm brewing until very, very late in the old video there. It's at like the 38-minute point or something. Very, I don't know why. There's a method, you know. But Assam tea, it's a tea shockingly grown in the Assam region of India. It's of the also shockingly Assamika variety of tea compared to the, you know, the Camellia sinensis variety that you'd get with a Chinese tea or a Darjeeling. It's also unlike Chinese teas and other Indian teas like Nilgiris and Darjeelings. This is a lowland tea, right? It's grown at a low elevation. All those other teas are usually like mid to high elevation. This comes from a low region in India. It also is a much hotter, wetter region than the other, especially in China, the other regions there. It's a hotter, wetter region that was totally inhospitable to the Chinese teas that the British were trying to grow in the 1800s, so that they could sort of sell their own supply rather than have to go through China to sell the tea. And then, Robert Bruce steps in. He hears about from, I assume, someone in India who no one probably thought to ask because, colonialism. And they tell him that, oh yeah, there's this wild tea plant that's been growing here that we've been using for, food and drink and medicine. And it's growing right here in India. Shockingly, that's what this becomes. That's the Assamica variety that becomes the modern day Assam tea. Cut to a couple decades later, and the East India Trading Company is trying to plant this Assam tea in Assam at a large scale and grow it at these huge scales, right? And there's a vast degree of slavery and horrifying, terrible working conditions, and sort of all of the nightmarish, terrible, horrible things about colonialism. And then by the end of the century, by the end of the 19th century, they're making money, hand over corpse, and at some, by about 1900, or even earlier than that, I believe, India is actually exporting more tea than China. It's a bleak history, especially when you cut to another 100 years after that and change, and sort of I enter the picture and I start drinking this stuff. It's bleak. It's sad. It's really awful. Especially the part where I come in. It's some rough stuff out there. Hey, speaking of rough stuff, sandpaper. What's going on with that contraption, huh? What's that? What's that all about? What's going on? Steep 5, I think we were somewhere in the realm of 5 minutes. This is the point where I don't measure anymore because it becomes so long that it's kind of not worth it to even keep brewing exactly. Why am I doing it? I don't know. I'm just doing it. You never know. You might get some good stuff out of it in the end. I am getting more fruit smells, which is nice. I'm basically putting the tea leaves into my nose holes, though. It's tough. And what am I tasting? It's similar to the last cup. Everything's really turned down. It's a little malty, a little bit of bitterness. The earth and fruit are... If I didn't know already that this was an earthy kind of fruity tea, and I had smelled this a bunch and drinking a bunch of it, I don't know that I would say that this tastes earthy and fruity. I think I might just be saying that because I know it tasted like that in the past. And I can either imagine or sort of, I don't know, really seek those flavors out in this mild cup. Yeah, past Steep 4, you're not getting much. You're getting a warm, slightly flavored beverage, which is okay. I don't mind a slightly flavored beverage. Let's do it again. Do a nice long steep on you. If that earlier little spiel about just the history of the British trying to grow tea in India had any interest to you, I would recommend the book called For All the Tea in China by Sarah Rose. It's pretty good. Modifier required in that recommendation, but it's pretty good. I read it. I read the whole book. Not that that's the most glowing recommendation. I have read the entirety of The Courtship of Princess Leia, and Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, and Tales from Jabba's Palace. So, Not that that book's comparable to any of those. It's a fine book. I feel like I'm like starting to take that recommendation back in a way by accident, which I don't mean to do. Go ahead and read it. It's fine. You know, this all puts me in mind of a joke I once heard. What's it called? Burgers. Kinds of stand. Alright. It's been, I don't know how long. It's been enough time for me to drink this and then say, oh dear, that doesn't taste like much, huh? So that's going to be exciting. I hope you're ready for that extravaganza of words. It's definitely brewing lighter, and it's brewing less red, I would say. That doesn't smell like anything. I feel like this might just be a one-sip kind of deal. Uh-huh. Oh, interesting. That actually, maybe at a certain point, wow, the research activities never stop, huh? It's really it's a whole world of learning, and the brakes are broken. Maybe when you start brewing these for longer, past like steep 4, you should just down the whole cup, because that had more flavor than the last couple brews. I would say since the 3rd brew we haven't had that much flavor. So that's a consideration worth considerationing. Let's drink a rinse. Wow! I always say that one. That's always fun. I love a good rinse. And I'm not talking about showers, because I'm disgusting. It's really malty. And it's like, it's earthy and it's a different flavor of earth. You know, I imagine different dirts taste different. It's a similar, if you remember a previous video where I talked about the possible different flavors of our friend rocks, I would say it's different. I would say it's a similar thing to that. I ate a different dirt that time. So, you know, beat that with a stick. Oh, I got a leaf in my throat.
It's been